Welcome everybody. I'm going to talk to you today about some blue crab traps that I built myself, and I built them to the Gulf of Mexico regulations for the state of Florida. So stick around. I'll show you how I did it.
The light creeping slowly through the lap, and the curtain says it's time to rise and shine and begin a new day with my little family in this Georgia countryside, where it's bacon and eggs and biscuits and gravy, a hug and a kiss for my pretty baby, telling my kids I love them for the 1,000th time. Oh man, how I love this country life.
Hey everybody. In this video I'm going to show you how I put some traps together to catch some blue crabs whenever I'm down on my fishing trips in Florida. What I want to talk to you about is the regulations that the FWC puts for the blue crab traps. Because if one of your traps is not in regulation, if they happen to check it when they pull it up, they're going to keep your trap, and it might actually make you a citation. I don't know. I don't want to go there, so I just make mine the way they're supposed to be made. Things I want to talk to you about is everything from the mesh size that they require, the physical size of the trap, the openings have a regulation on them, and you have to have it a certain size that, well, they call it an escape ring on the trap. You have to have a certain number, a certain size, and you also have to have what's called a degradable panel. And what that is, if for some reason your buoy comes off or the trap rolls, wraps itself up in the rope, and the trap goes derelict, it's just laying down on the bottom and there's no way to get it, the trap would just attract marine wildlife and get trapped in there. It'll die, and that'll attract other wildlife in there, and then the trap would just sit there and kill marine life. And what the degradable panel does is after a certain amount of time in the water, there's a way for the wildlife to get out of your trap if they go into it. There's a bunch of different ways you can do that, and I'll show you the way I did mine. The first thing I want to talk about is the mesh size. Florida regulations for the Gulf of Mexico requires a minimum of 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch square. You can use larger if you want, but I used the 1.5 by 1.5 inch square. I ordered a roll, a 50-foot roll. It was 2 feet tall, 50 feet long, and I made it using that mesh. Some of the main components of the trap is an entrance for the crabs. You have an access door, possibly a bait well if you don't use the bag inside the trap, for your bait. I built an actual bait holding compartment on mine. These are the escape rings I talked about. Florida wants a minimum of 2 3/8 inch opening in the escape ring. You can buy these, Amazon, there's a bunch of different supply places online that you can find. But I'm no longer going to buy mine. I'm just going to take a plastic cutting board, hole saw, whatever I need, and I'm going to make my own. It's cheaper. That degradable panel that I told you about can be made in different ways. You can actually take something like the jute twine I use here, and you can cut a square and you can weave it on there to where that actual area of the trap would degrade. The way I've done mine, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it, but it has to be built to where it functions. I have a bungee that holds my access door shut. The trap sits like this, so the access door would drop open when you take the bungee off. But you take jute twine, and I made an anchor for the bungee out of the jute twine. So after a certain amount of time in the water, the twine will give way, it'll rot. When it does, the way mine's set up, it'll just cause the door to drop open. So the trap won't be a killer. You know, marine life can get in and get out of the trap. There's different regulations on certain parts of the trap. Florida says the biggest the trap can be is 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet. If you're making a double-decker trap, which is actually 2 feet tall, you might want to have 2 sections in it. I just choose to have one. This is about the size you can buy, from different places like Bass Pro Academy or whatever. You can buy these traps. This is generally the size they sell. They sell the bigger ones. But a trap this size will still run you anywhere from $50 to $100. I made mine 2 feet by 2 feet by 13 inches tall. The escape rings, you have to have 3. Not on the same panel. I put one, I scattered them around my trap, which is a legal way to do it. And what that does is allow smaller crabs, smaller bait fish or whatever, they can come in and out of your trap. We'll talk about the entrance openings. From what I understand right now, they can be as big as you want, but they can't extend more than 6 inches towards the inside of your trap. I think mine are around 4.5 inches going in. I'm not sure how big they are at this point. They're probably 3 inches tall, but maybe about 7 or 8 inches long. Once they come into the trap, I have them angled upward, so the crab would drop in. When he comes back towards that entrance, he won't be able to get, to crawl up it, or he might not even know to crawl up it. So the crab will stay in the trap. March of 2023, the FWC is going to require a certain size opening. That's because of the diamondback terrapin turtle. If a turtle gets into your trap, it's underwater, and he's going to die. So they've come up with a regulation for the size of your opening for the crab. There's different things that are available now, because up north in the Maryland area, along the eastern seaboard, they already had this in place. And you can buy plastic pieces or possibly make your own, because the size is going to be very specific. You can make your own and just attach it to your existing trap, so you don't have to change anything there. And then possibly on down the road, if I make more, I just make my opening that size. But that's some of the basic components that the FWC requires for your trap. Oh, I forgot one thing. Each trap now through the state of Florida, if you're going to put a blue crab trap out, you have to have a registration, a trap number with the FWC. It's free. If you already have a fishing license in Florida, you just go back in there and just click on the website, go in there and get your licensing, and it's got the registration for blue crab trap. It's free, but it gives you a number. For recreational crab traps, you're only allowed to have 5, and they're all the same number. Your registration number. So I went through different areas, tested different things for making my own tag for my trap, and you might have a better way to do it, or you might want to spend more money to get it done. It's all up to you. I did mine as cheap as possible, but I had a piece of flat aluminum stock, and I had an engraver tool, and I engraved my information, which you got to have your name and address and your registration number on every trap. My traps, I have a bait well in the middle. I made it out of a galvanized, like a construction cloth is what they call it, whatever. It's a little, like a 1/4 inch mesh, 1/2 inch mesh, whatever it is. I just made me a tube, attached it on the top and the bottom. I made me a little entrance door on the bottom where you gain access, put your bait in and out, whatever, so forth. Instead of just throwing the bait in the trap and throwing it in there, if you get 2 or 3 crabs in there, they'll chew up all the bait. and your trap will stop attracting more crabs. If you make it harder to get to the bait, but easy enough that they can get a little bit or stay interested in it, they won't try to get out. So that's why I made the bait well for it. And there's one thing I forgot on the regulation side. The buoys for your trap, minimum of 6 inches. Now, you can have bigger. I actually had some 8-inch from my other traps because they were, I bought them in Mexico Beach the last time I was down there, and I paid less for 5 of them than I did for 5 of the 6-inch buoys. They had to be marked with R for recreational. I took mine, I don't know if you can see this or not, but I just I took a hot piece of wire that I heated up with a propane torch, and I melted the R into it. So that way, if you made it with a marker or whatever, it'll wash off after a while, because salt water is rough on everything. But this ain't washing off. It ain't going nowhere. I would like to thank everybody for watching the video. I would like to add that anytime you place anything in a waterway, if you put it in a navigation channel of any kind, it can impede traffic. That also would be breaking any regulations to any kind of waterway, possibly even a freshwater waterway. But I also want to add in there that the regulations I speak of in this video are based on the area in which I place my traps. It was in Bay County, Gulf County, Florida, which is Panama City, Mexico Beach, Port St. Joe area, and it could cover Cape San Blas, but at any time you're going to place anything in the water like that, you need to adhere to the regulations to the area. So always check the up-to-date regulations for wherever it is that you're going to fish or trap. And also bear in mind that traps that, if you choose not to build your trap, the traps that you can purchase, whether it be from a store in the area or possibly online, they may not adhere to the regulations to the area that you're going to put the trap. So you need to make sure before you purchase that trap that you're going to have them fall within your regulations, or you're going to may have to do some heavy modifications to the trap. And that's not something that anybody would probably want to do. So, thanks again. If you like the video, please click the like button. And if you want to continue on, because I do have more videos coming, I'm finally getting out and starting to do things again. I have a video in the makes right now for when I made the traps that I have. And please click subscribe and you get a notification for when I post that video. Thank you again.
There's a girl that treats me like a king.